This movie's a train wreck. If you could just picture in your mind for a second a train that is conducted by Rob Zombie, and let's say the train is painted up in pretty colors and neon and all that stuff, and then suddenly it just crashes. That is this movie. Again, it's a train wreck, it's cringy, it's unfunny, and it's the worst Rob Zombie film. Now, when it comes to Rob Zombie, the only film that I've seen of his is Halloween, and I don't care for that movie. I know some people out there are fans of his remake. I'm not one of them. And when I heard that, Rob Zombie's going to do a Munsters movie, direct and write it, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to be disastrous. And to no surprise, it is a disaster. I am a fan of the original, 60s series. And this film here, it's based on the sitcom. It takes place prior to the events of the show. It's an origin of the characters. And, it's not your typical Rob Zombie movie. This film here is rated PG. It is family friendly. But at the same time, again, it's very cringy. It's not funny. And I'll talk more about that. The cast here, so you have Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman Monster. This guy was very annoying. Fred Gwynne, he made that character. Yes, the character of Herman Monster was a buffoon, but he had a very likable charm. And that is the difference between this guy and Fred Gwynne. Fred Gwynne, the thing is, that voice. That voice of Herman Monster. Here in this film, Jeff Daniel Phillips, that voice, his voice is very crackly and annoying. And at times, he's trying to, copy the mannerisms of Herman Monster. I mean, facially, there's some similarities. But, when he starts to act like Herman Monster by doing his laugh and, trying to, do his own thing. And I know some people out there are going to say, well, he can't exactly be Fred Gwynne. But Fred Gwynne is far better than this guy. Rest in peace, Fred Gwynne. This guy was bad. And again, he was a very annoying performance. And just sounded very crackly. Lily. I can't do that voice. But I thought he was terrible. You have Sherry Moon Zombie as Lily. I thought she was awful. But of course, Rob Zombie's going to give her a part in her, his movies. You have Daniel Roebuck as Grandpa, the Count. I will say, Daniel Roebuck, he's trying. But that's not enough to save this movie. Daniel Roebuck, he's been in other films before. He was in The Fugitive. Back in the day, he was good in that. He had a supporting part. And he's been in many other, films and, TV shows. And in fact, him and Fred Gwynne, they worked together back in the day on a film called Disorganized Crime. And I know that Daniel Roebuck, he's a big fan of the original show. And again, he's trying here. But that's not enough to, save the movie. You also have Richard Brake in the film as Dr. Wolfgang. You have Elvira, Cassandra Peterson in here as this real estate agent. And apparently, Pat Priest and Butch Patrick, they appear in the movie. So they do appear in the film. But the cast here, then again, I say that Daniel Roebuck's trying, but at the same time, he's no Al Lewis. The cast here sucks. Jeff Daniel Phillips, at first, when I saw that name, I'm like, is Jeff Daniels playing Herman Monster? Maybe it would have been better. I don't know. To me, Jeff Daniels is better than Jeff Daniel Phillips. But this guy, Fred Gwynne, he is not. Fred Gwynne made that character. And again, I know some people might say, well, that was the purpose. And they're trying to copy the show. And that's basically the difference is between that show and this movie. That was a sitcom back in the day that was in black and white. And it worked because, yes, while I said before, the character of not Fred Gwynne, but the character of Herman Munster, he is a bit of a goof and buffoon, but he was likable. Fred Gwynne made that character likable, and he had a charm, and he had a sense of humor. This guy is not funny. He's not likable. He's not charming. He's annoying. Sherry Moon Zombie is awful. Daniel Roebuck's trying, but it's not enough. I guess I can talk about some of the highlights and lowlights. So if I have to give this film any sort of, like positives, the production. I mean, some of the set designs here, throughout the film, I will say, it looks interesting. I mean, it really popped throughout the movie. The set designs, the use of certain colors, and a lot of the colors are heightened here. And from what I read, that they weren't allowed to film in black and white. So, even black and white doesn't want any part of this movie. And I'm kind of glad because, if they made it black and white, to me it would just be more... I mean, this film is already insulting, but if they made it black and white, it would just be even more insulting. Like you're really trying to be the original series, and it just comes off... Again, this film is a joke, and that would have been more of a farce. But I will say, in regards to production, set design, there's some really cool sets in here. Again, the use of certain lighting and colors, it's very, again, heightened throughout the movie. So, I will say that was interesting. Again, Daniel Roebuck, I mentioned him. He is trying, but again, he's no Al Lewis. He's a good actor. I mean, out of the cast, he is probably the one person that is trying and, trying to do his best, but he just drowns and, he just drowns in this movie. I mean, when it comes to the direction and the script, Daniel Roebuck, he can't really keep himself afloat. It's not vulgar, if that is a positive. Again, it's not like it's not your typical Rob Zombie movie. It's not vulgar. It is family friendly. It's PG. So I don't know if you would say that's a positive, but I'll mention that. Now we're talking about, again, lowlights. Annoying performances. Again, from everybody, Herman Munster, Lily, some of the other little cookie characters that would pop in the movie. Badly written. This film has no flow of story. And, the thing is, too, and I'm kind of getting a little bit ahead of myself here, this film is clocking in at almost 110 minutes. An almost 2-hour film. And it's a bore fest. This film is overlong. And there's just a lot of bad scenes. I mean, the two leads, Herman and Lily, they have no chemistry. And their romance, I mean, you kind of get a backstory of them getting together. And again, there's some bad scenes throughout the movie. For one, you got a scene where together they're singing "I've Got You, Babe" by Sonny and Cher. I'm like, oh my God. And then you have like a montage of them, them going out on dates, going to Paris. And they go to Paris, and that's when they find Spot. For people that know the show, you know who Spot is. And again, they have no chemistry, no rapport. And, a lot of scenes throughout the movie here, it just cuts away, real fast because there's no flow. There's no flow of story. There's no, time to really get to know these characters, even though, again, the characters are the biggest problem. But it just, I guess, it kind of, when you really think about it, it boils down to the runtime. Because, again, this film is like an hour and 50 minutes. And it just feels like it's sort of like a overlong sitcom that is unfunny and cringy. Like if this film here, if it was an hour, let's say, if it was 45 minutes to an hour, I wouldn't be as mad. But being that this film, as long as it is, last night I was able to get through the first hour, and I was getting tired, and I'm like, I'm gonna stop this for now because I was getting bored. So I finished it this morning, and so yeah, annoying performances, is badly written. There's no direction. Rob Zombie, don't direct anymore. Stop directing. Stop giving him money to direct. I don't mind his music, but stop directing movies. So, yeah, I mean, those are some of the, again, the highlights. I mean, positives, negatives. Again, the production design, some of the sets, some of the use of lighting and colors. It's interesting. It's eye-popping. Daniel Roebuck, he's trying. And it's not vulgar. It's not a vulgar film. So, for the family, it's safe to watch. But at the same time, there's other family movies I would say go watch. Don't watch this movie. I mean, for people that are fans of the show, like myself, will hate this movie. And I know they made several films later, after the series. I mean, wasn't there a couple of films that were made back in the 90s? And those, I'm sure, sucked. Maybe it's best that, overall, don't make a Munsters movie in color. Because it just looks bad. It's best to stay black and white. And again, I know Rob Zombie's a fan of the show. But I just think with this movie, he just didn't know what he was doing, and I just don't think he cares. He can say he's a fan and he cares, but how about just stay being a fan of the show? Don't make movies. And don't make movies like this again. Because this film belongs in the $2 bin. And it's cheap. It's cheap looking. And I don't know what else to really add here to this review. I kind of I've covered quite a bit here. But this movie sucks. And again, I know some people might wonder, why did I put myself through this movie? I haven't really talked about new films this year. If I look back on this year, I've seen a handful of movies. And being that it's new, and figured why not. And also too, maybe a part of it is to save you guys from watching it, because it's bad. But yeah, I'm done talking about this movie. Again, Rob Zombie, don't ever direct again. Don't ever make a film like this again. And to me, the Munsters will always be the original black and white series. Fred Gwynne, he's rolling in his grave right now as we speak. Like, the Tasmanian Devil. Yeah, he's pissed about this movie, as I am. And, the humor is bad. I forgot to put that down, but, the humor doesn't work. There's no chemistry between these characters. And it's just very bad and cringy. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for now. You know, I mean, out of 5 stars, this movie would get maybe, I don't know, 1.5. Because, you know, again, you know, there's some eye-popping colors in the movie. Interesting set designs, but that's pretty much it. Some interesting eye candy doesn't save the movie. And yeah, I'm done with this movie. I'm done talking about the monsters. I much rather watch the old series. But yeah, this is a bad movie. Skip this one. Don't watch it.